We are on a journey to becoming our authentic self. And I want to, Henry says hello, but I also want to talk about vulnerability because for a very long time, and especially on this app, you often see people saying, I'll never cry on this app, I'll never do this, I'll never do that. And we've often seen an outpouring of sometimes some people would consider oversharing or it don't take all that and all this stuff. And I really think we need to, as individuals, interrogate that. Because if you are the person that is thinking that, what happened to you? And of course, there will always be people, not that I'm good. Okay, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. But I can remember the earliest moments of my mom being incredibly judgmental. And I, in turn, was a very judgmental person as well. And there were times as I got older where I realized, like, wait a minute, do I really care? Do I really care? Is what that person doing affecting me? No? Okay, bet. All right. Then why? It makes you stop and think, why does she care so much? Why do other people care so much? And then you're like, you know what? I don't have mental capacity to worry about that. So let me just go do what I got to do in life because the world is already a tough place in general. So, me. But for a very, very long time, there were so many things that I struggled with, and having mental illness running in your family and having a parent who struggled a lot with that and a lot with health issues on top of health issues on top of health issues and just feeling very lonely and all of that. It was and still is challenging at times, and I don't think enough people talk about that because in my family it's like, well, we don't talk about what goes on in this house outside. And I'm like, that is what is keeping us stuck. Just like for a very long time, my mother used to tell me, oh, don't sit on a boy's lap, don't sit on a man's lap. That's my father. But and there were so many things like that where I just felt so out of place, and I'm not even going to get into not being taught how to date. I'll say that for another video. But if you have not looked up adverse childhood events, I highly encourage you to do so. I'm pretty sure I got like a 10 out of 10. And that goes along with the video that I shared yesterday, talking about the grief that comes with that, because there are so many things that I have realized I can do now as an adult that sometimes I wonder if my mother or father would have nurtured that as a child, what would I be like right now? And I kept asking myself that question, and then I was like, well, good thing I don't have to wait for them to find out. I can figure that out for myself. And I feel like I have lived so many lives in the short time period that I have been on this earth. And I was talking about it with my best friend last night, and he was just like, why are you in healthcare versus not being in business or finance or economics? Like, why did you choose to do what you do? I was like, pretty sure I'm neurodivergent and I can't focus on one thing at once because I get bored. And I want to see how much I can challenge myself. I've always been like this, you know? And it's interesting because when I have conversations with my mom, like, I've developed the self-awareness to be like, I am all over the place today. I acknowledge that. I give people disclaimers all the time. Like, look, I am overstimulated. You probably want to have this conversation with me later. And there are times when I'm on the phone with my mom and she's just, and I'm like, yeah, can you start over? Like, start from the conversation that you was having 15 minutes ago, because I haven't caught up since then, on top of her having an accent. So you think about how our parents probably struggled with autism or ADD or ADHD and never got a diagnosis, and then, you know, us as children are experiencing these things, or mental health issues and depression. And I find it so interesting how so many people are like, well, we didn't have all this stuff when we was younger. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That cousin that y'all said was a little strange, that aunt that you said she disowned all of y'all, that other uncle that would never come out of his room but would collect all these dolls and Pokemon cards later on, and sports cards. Now, again, I am not a licensed mental health professional, so I am not about to get into the business of diagnoses. But knowing what I have in my medical history and the things that I have had to go through, medical file wise, birth and death record wise, just to get an understanding of my health history, I done seen some things, and I still have questions. But back to the A scores and trying to understand that. And if you are in the process of just trying to piece these things together and you're trying to figure out like why you feel so activated when you are noticing different things, just take a look at that. And I won't even get into conversations around food and body image and all that stuff. Like I said, I'm sharing my experiences and then I'm going to go back to those things. But right now, I am absolutely positively in love with my body. And it was not always like that because I was such a late bloomer, and that attention that people put on me was unbearable when I did start to develop. And it was just so awful. And now I am learning how to listen to my body. I am learning to trust my intuition. I am learning how to remove myself from people, places, and things that no longer serve me. And also, I am learning what it looks like to trust myself. And I am sharing my experiences with the hope that you will be able to take something from it to be like, so I'm not bugging? Nope, you're not tripping. Let me witness you. Nothing that you did deserved the treatment that you received in many instances. You did not need to validate yourself or prove that you were good or prove that you were capable of being loved and all these things. There was no reason for you to try to push through and do all these things. You were not lazy. You are not a bad person. You are worthy to be loved. And I know how many of us are struggling right now in adulthood because we did not get those things as children or younger people. And I want you to remember that there are people that are waiting to love you.